Well, hey there, Southern Oregon. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show. So glad you could join us again today. We have Guy Giles from Mutual Mortgage coming on the show with his team to bring us up to speed on what's happened in the financial markets and mortgage markets, not only locally, but nationally. There's still a lot of volatility. There's still a lot going on. So Guy Giles from Mutual Mortgage and his team will be coming on the show today to field some questions and kind of bring us up to speed on what's happening as we're in the middle of our spring selling season here in Southern Oregon. In the meantime, let's check the stats because we're having some changes. Some of them are really exciting and some of them are a little nail biting. Let's start with Klamath Falls. Klamath Falls, this is single family residential only. Klamath Falls prices year over year are up a whopping 36%. That means a single family home in Klamath County on average will now cost you $373,385. The number of single family homes sold year over year in Klamath County are down a whopping 40%. The number of listings in Klamath County year over year are down 8%. We have 0 closed foreclosures this week in Klamath County, 0 closed short sales this week in Klamath County, and 0 closed $1 million sales in Klamath County this week. Jackson County year over year is unchanged. A single family home will cost you on average $515,932 in Jackson County. The number of solds in Jackson County year over year are down 41%, another whopping number. The number of listings in Jackson County year over year are down 10%. We had 1 foreclosure close in Jackson County this week. It was in Butte Falls and it closed for $270,000. The number of short sales were 0 closed in Jackson County this week, but we did have $1 million sale close in Jackson County this week for $2.3 million in Eagle Point. It was 3 houses on 197 acres. Josephine County prices year over year are down 9%. Single family home in Josephine County now costing you $399,510. The number of solds in Josephine County year over year this week were down 41%. The number of listings in Josephine County year over year were down 12%. We had 0 foreclosures closed this week in Josephine County, 0 short sales closed this week in Josephine County, but we did have another $1 million sale, and it was in Josephine County for $1.3 million. It was on the Rogue River. It was 11 acres riverfront with a 3,000 square foot house. So there you go. Let's bring on Guy Giles right after these messages. Well, hey, Southern Oregon, welcome back to the Real Estate Show. So glad you could join us today, especially on this Memorial weekend. We're welcoming back Guy Giles and his team, Kristi Stockebrand and Trent Driskell from Mutual Mortgage. Thanks, you guys, for joining us, especially on the holiday.
Thank you. I figured since I had to work on this Saturday, we'll bring in these two also and introduce them. They've been here almost 2 months actually, and they're already killing it in the mortgage side. So I think
that is so awesome. That is so awesome. So Kristi Stockebrand, you've been there 2 months. How's it going?
We're amazed that the 2 months has flown by already, but everything is phenomenal. The company is great. The team here locally is great. Couldn't ask for anything better at this time.
That's wonderful. And Trent, how about you? How's it going with you?
Oh, we've been thrilled. Super welcoming team, and they provided us everything we needed to be successful. So it's been great.
Well, that's great. I'm so glad that you've joined Guy. He's a rock star in the loan world for sure.
I've closed 2 now, so.
Folks, he's just joking. He probably does 2 every 10 minutes. Speaking of 10, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say we're super blessed to have him here, so we're going to just take over the whole thing around here now.
Well, and it's exciting that your team is growing. Does that mean that the market is changing? Because I thought this week was kind of strange out there in mortgage land. I want to talk about that?
I've been doing this for a couple of decades, and yeah, strange. I mean, it hit strange Monday at around noon, and then just got weirder from there. So it's just one of those things where you again just have a whole bunch of feds running around talking when they just should be like looking at the numbers, the actual numbers. And so it is a very strange time. I mean, obviously we have this debt ceiling that's, kind of weighing on everybody right now. Nothing's going to really fix what's going on overnight. So as far as we're concerned, we're just looking at this, and there's still not enough houses for people. If you look historically, yeah, rates are up from where they were before, but it's still a good time to buy. I mean, I know that there's people that would have killed for rates where they are right now. If you were in the 80s, or if you were any other time, and people still bought houses, they still did well doing it. And the people that we are serving right now, even though it's not as many as there were before, they're happy when they're getting in their house. And it's just one of those pillars as far as building your overall wealth. So yeah, it's a little weird. It's a lot weird, but just get in the game is just the motto.
Well, and did you see the case? I think it was Case Shiller, which is one of the national tracking housing industry reports, that the prices went up just like a little tiny bit in some of the urban areas across the country, like 1 or 2%.
Yeah.
And so, we're all just sitting here going, so we're going to have high interest rates and high prices. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, I mean, the rates have been stubborn, but they will come down. We just it does feel like we're just going next month. Every time they get to cook the job numbers, they take advantage of that, just so they can. I say they anyway. Me, not super political at all, so I'll just leave it at that. Whoever's in charge of hiring the feds probably should think a little bit more as they install these people. They were really behind in what they were doing. We're hoping now they're finally realizing where the markets actually are, and that should translate into what happens next month. I mean, there's still a 70% chance that there'll be a pause, and we're kind of done raising rates right now. And again, I always follow up with that doesn't directly affect our rates. That's just your credit cards, your lines of credit, things like that. But it's all tied to inflation. And when inflation eases, our rates go down. And, we're still expecting to see that. It's just been a little bit more stubborn than we thought. But getting this debt ceiling thing all rattled out will be key. So
what kind of rates are your buyers getting right now?
Honestly, there's a wide variety. I mean, I think the lowest person I locked in, and I don't have an APR, so I hate to quote a rate, was in the
right. But are we, because we were in like the 7s for a while. So
yeah, and if your credit's not great, I mean, honestly, there are 26 variables that go into quoting an accurate rate, and it's really just dependent on your down payment, on your credit score, on the loan program that you're doing. So, I mean, you could be anywhere from the high 5s to the low 8s. I mean, I know that sounds like
that is a wide range.
It really is. And yeah, helicopter. Sorry, there's a helicopter cruising over right now. So I think it's landing literally outside of my office. So
well, they probably need a loan.
Yes. Well,
yeah. Maybe a big one.
I apologize. It's not normal for on the air, but anyway, I should let these guys talk a little bit about kind of what. Well,
yeah, let's talk about some
what
of
kind
the
of buyers
folks.
they're getting, I guess.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the folks that are you're meeting with, Kristi and Trent. Are they first-time people? Are they people that have a house to sell? What kind of folks are you getting right now?
I would say we're getting a good variety of clients that we're meeting with. A lot of first-time home buyers who have come through the Access program as well. Some where we might be doing some credit repair work with them. So we've got a good variety of clients coming in, some that are coming into the area, some that are moving out of the area. And that's the great part is I've got a couple clients in Idaho right now that buying and selling. So we just refuse to get the memo that it's quote unquote not a good time to buy, and just have that good education with the clients. So that way, we get them on that path to homeownership.
Well, and if you guys are so busy that you're adding people to help, the number of buyers, then it sounds like you're successful in getting the word out that it's really a good time to purchase.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think we went over it a couple weeks ago. I mean, I did the math, and there's no other math that makes sense, especially if you just have money sitting in a bank account and you're waiting for house prices to drop a little bit or rates to go down. There's not an investment person in the world that's going to make the kind of return on $30,000 as your house will make on $300,000. And, not to mention the tax write-offs, the security of not having to worry that your landlord's going to sell your house, and just, let's face it, putting up a Christmas tree at your own house is kind of more fun than somebody else's house.
Yes, it is, for sure.
But we're not going to really participate as far as it slowing down. We're all fighting the same things, but still, we really, really believe that home ownership is as big of a part of building wealth as anything. I mean, I think there's statistics up to 40% or 40 times more wealth for a homeowner than somebody that doesn't own a house.
Yeah, and all you have to do is drive in the driveway and go to sleep at night. Well, and pay your mortgage.
Well, yeah, but you're going to go to sleep someplace, so it might as well be in your own house.
It might as well, especially in Southern Oregon. And don't you find that, Trent, that Southern Oregon is kind of a special place, and that the house values do go up a little bit more just because we're sort of that lifestyle, quote unquote, lifestyle destination?
Of course. I'm born and raised here in the Valley. Love this place. I moved away 3 times and couldn't wait to get back each time. And yeah, it's my home purchase has been one of the greatest things I've ever done in my financial life. So yeah, I think, like Guy said, just get in the game and you'll almost never lose in real estate.
Yeah. And if the prices do creep up even just a little bit, then that's instant equity in everybody's pocket.
Yeah.
Well, the other piece of it is, are we really waiting for everything to get perfect so you can get into a bidding war? I mean,
oh, right. Right.
And we're already starting to see, especially on the lower end stuff, multiple offers on things. So, I mean, if it mathematically makes sense, you can come in. We're actually fully credit approving people on a soft pull, fully through underwriting. So come in, you have.
Can you define soft pull? Because not everybody knows what that means.
We're not going to, it's not going to be a credit hit. It's just going to be just where we kind of in the background go in and we look at credit. And that's actually enough with our underwriters where we can do it without hitting your credit and get you fully credit approved. So if you're out shopping for a house, you're not looking at Quickens. Hey, I put in that I'm a rocket scientist and that I have $900,000 down. We're actually looking at everything, getting you fully credit approved. And if your offer is going up against, especially somebody from out of town, where there's a lot of people, shopping and running around with their little pre-qual letter, a full pre-approval is going to be a way better way to go. And especially having a local lender. I just had that happen this week where the listing agent said, we'd really like you to get approved with somebody local because you just don't trust these guys.
Yeah. Well, and in a more volatile market, that's wise, don't you think, for sellers to make that request/demand?
Absolutely.
Well,
I've seen it. I've seen a lot of the agents coming back or saying, hey, we need you to take a look at this. They've been pre-approved through an online based company and we want to see somebody local.
So, and definitely if there's apples to apples offer out there and you have a good local lender and you have an online lender, I don't know of anybody that's going to accept that online lender. You might as well take the person that you can, that has some accountability, that lives in the Valley. So, and we're a big company and we're very competitive with our rates too. If you're out there and you're thinking maybe you got a weird rate or something, shop us against them, give us a call. You can Google any one of us and, we'll see if we can take better care of you.
Well, and the interesting thing is because you're such a big company, you can have somebody in Idaho moving here and they have a local lender because they have you here.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Exactly.
So yeah, it's a little bit of the best of both worlds. We're $100 billion debt-free company. So we're not beholden to anybody. You know, we're very committed to mortgages, been in business 114 years, and we're not going anywhere. A lot of places right now are doing everything they can just to keep their doors open, and we're actually profitable this last quarter. So, you know, we're here, I guess.
Well, and that's an interesting side effect of the interest rate increases so fast, is that some of the borderline companies are struggling.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just when you see volume go down to about nothing, you know, we have our reverse side, and we should maybe talk about that a little bit after the break, as far as how we can leverage those in the right circumstances to help people. But we have other parts of us that are able to, we're able to prop them up when things are going really good in mortgage, and they're able to prop us up if, you know, if we're not quite as profitable at a certain time. So it all averages out, and it turns out to be a good, stable place to do business.
Well, and reverse mortgages definitely have their place. I know there's a lot of misunderstanding about those, just like there is about if it's a good time to even buy right now. So yeah, and we do have to take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll be talking with Guy Giles, Kristi Stockebrand, and Trent Driskell of Mutual Mortgage here on this holiday weekend. We're thankfully brought to you by Guy Giles and Mutual Mortgage, our local Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, ARVAR, and John L. Scott, Ashland, and Medford. This broadcast will be repeated tomorrow, Sunday at 6 p.m. on KCMX News Talk 99.5. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show, folks. I'm Alice Lima. I'm a broker here in beautiful Southern Oregon with John L. Scott Real Estate. And we are lucky to have Guy Giles, Kristi Stockebrand, and Trent Driskell from Mutual Mortgage on the show this holiday weekend. And right before we went to the break, we were starting to touch a little bit on reverse mortgages. And Guy, why don't you talk about that? Because there's a lot of misunderstandings about reverse mortgages.
Yeah, I mean, I just, as a real life example, I have a guy moving to town that just called me yesterday, and he's got about $450,000, and he came to me for a mortgage loan. He's 74, I guess, and it might just be the perfect program for him, where he doesn't have a payment. He's just kind of leave everything to his nephew when he passes away. But you know, you could come in and buy a $450,000 house, pay cash. You could get a loan, a traditional loan, and have a mortgage payment, which, you know, that's not terrible either. Or look at maybe doing a reverse mortgage, where he could, you know, at his age, get almost twice the house for his down payment and never have a payment again as long as he lives. You know, it's a kind of a sliding scale. So you know, if you're 62 years old, about the entry point for a reverse mortgage, you know, they're not going to loan to you at, you know, 80% loan to value. But if you're 105, it may be a little bit different. So they always want you to have equity kind of expected on your lifespan. So it's a little bit of a morbid, weird calculation that you go through. But at the same time, I've never been thanked like I've been thanked from people that got a reverse mortgage. I mean, literally one gal a few months ago, I would have never been able to stay in my house if we hadn't done this. Another one that we closed 3 weeks ago, able to do the projects that she and her husband that fought in World War II always wanted to get done around the house. He never got around to, and she's like, you know, I just want to do this in his honor. And she pulled out some money, and she's going to redo the house at 90. What is she, 93 years old? One of my favorite people that I ever dealt with. And she wasn't at jeopardy of losing her house at all, but she got to kind of fulfill a dream. I mean, it's equity in your house is one of those things, just like a 401k that you work for, you know, and to be able to kind of access some of that equity later on without having to sell your house is just a nice way to be able to stay there. And you know, if you do a line of credit, that can help you with maintenance on the house, whatever you want to do. But I think the big advantage is the people that come here, because people do come here to retire, that maybe have $200,000-$400,000, you know, cash, and really don't want a payment at all. You know, I mean, it may not be right for everybody. It's a little bit more expensive to get into, you know, but there's a lot of education that goes into it. And we always encourage family members to come in and meet also, so everybody understands what it is. But if you could get a house that's $700,000-$800,000 and still not have a payment, other than your taxes and your insurance, it's a good way to go. And you can purchase a house with it. It doesn't have to be a refinance where there's a lot of misconceptions.
Yeah, it's really kind of interesting because I have the same experience. We don't see a ton of them, but when we do, it's the difference a lot of times between the older person getting to stay in their home or being able to be in a home at all, or not. And in Southern Oregon, our elderly are really struggling with housing. The housing shortage that we talk about every week affects them as much as it does the first-time home buyers, maybe even more so because the older people sometimes don't have the physical ability just to get around in a place that's not really appropriate for them.
No, it's definitely a really good tool, you know, and there's actually a lot of different things out there. I think Kristi and Trent have dealt with access a little bit recently, just helping some people get in. And, you know, obviously there's always the, you know, family members that can come in and give gift funds. There's, you know, you can borrow from 401ks. There's different ways to come up with down payment. But this access thing, I'll turn it over to you guys.
Yeah, let's talk about that because I don't think a lot of people understand. And access, just so the audience knows, they're the food bank people, but they have a housing program. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so access does that's a piece that I don't think a lot of people know about is one, all of the different down payment assistance programs that are out there, but locally for us here, we do have access. They've got a whole home buyer education piece, start off with attending a class, go through a couple counseling sessions as far as budget and credit repair if they need to. We have a client that was lucky to go through all of that and was awarded some funds, got him pre-approved, and he's under contract as of last night. So
wow.
Very, very exciting. It's being able to help some of those people out there become homeowners has been really great. So, and Access is our local group right here.
So how, what are what's the criteria to be in that program?
So anybody can take the home buyer class. They do receive a certificate for it. So it does meet a lot of those home counseling requirements that even some other down payment assistance programs require. And then it depends on what grants that they may qualify for. Some are income-based, some are not income-based, some are forgivable and some are not. It just kind of depends on how that particular program is set up. So there's some that are specific to veterans. There's some that are just, you know, lower income. They meet a certain income threshold, and first-time home buyers, or maybe they're first generational home buyers. So some of the funds come from state of Oregon, some is raised locally, and some is donations that are fund created.
Wow, that's awesome. So I've heard that it takes time to go through that program. Do you know any of the details about that?
It could take a few months depending on how many applicants are coming through. So the sooner people can get started on it, the better. A lot of times if I'm talking with somebody and I think that that is a good direction to go, I will get them started right away. Maybe at the same time we're doing some credit repair for them as well. So that way they're just getting in the process and getting in the loop. Some of those funds they'll run out as soon as funds are received by Access. And then we're waiting until next spring and maybe even clear into June of the following year before funds are available again. So again,
I see. Okay.
Some of the down payment programs that we have that we offer here at Mutual, those are national funded. So I've got a couple of those going right now for clients as well.
Wow, that is so exciting. That is so exciting. And does Access have an opinion about what house you buy?
No, as long as it meets within loan guidelines. A lot of times their programs will allow for conventional FHA, USDA, or even VA programs, which is really nice. Gives them
wow. So you could buy something. So USDA is out in the countryside.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And is it specific to Jackson County or will it work in Grants Pass also?
So at Josephine County as well. Access will
wow.
cover Josephine and Jackson County.
That's great. That's great.
I think your house was Josephine County, right?
I'm Jackson.
No, the one that you just got in.
Oh, Josephine, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it does work over there. And, you know, some of these down payment assistance programs that we have, we've used them. I mean, We just have a second mortgage. Sometimes it's repayable, sometimes it's not, but you're just basically qualifying for a loan. And this it's an FHA program on the one that we're doing, but FHA has actually lowered that mortgage insurance down some. So instead of being 80 basis points, there we go again. Instead of like $800 on $100,000 a year, it's 500. So they've reduced it quite a bit. They didn't. It's still for the life of the loan unless you have a little bit of a down payment, but it's it is a viable option that we've actually closed a couple of those ones also. So, but if you can save a down payment, it's always going to be the best thing. But we do have options if you want to come in and talk while you're trying to figure all that out.
Well, that's incredible.
I'm closing actually one today or I closed one on Thursday. Got mixed up on what day it is. And she decided to pay off her truck. She had a $600 truck payment. So she's been pounding on that rather than saving for a down payment. And she makes a decent living and she qualified for it. And she just would rather have a little bit of a better house and no truck payment. So, best thing to do is just come in and we'll come up with a strategy for you. And, if right now is the right time, that's great. And if not, we'll let you know that too. And just kind of work you towards that time.
Put a plan in place that's specific for them.
Yeah, and getting this information up front before you're ready is actually a great idea. And I know there's a lot of people out there that might even be listening right now that we're going to wait until, like Guy said, everything was perfect. But I'm finding that it's better to go and talk to you guys as a lender as early as possible.
Yes.
Always. You don't want to go through the pre-approval process, while you're in contract. So,
well, yeah, the agents won't write the offers, but yeah. I guess
that's why you need a good agent like Alice. So
yeah.
I anyway,
gotta do it in order.
It's good. It might be some weird boogeyman in your credit, history that we could address. And if we have time to do that, we can look at it. And if you're doing it right at the end, there's a lot of people, we do it right at the end. It's not a big deal, but if you're just thinking about doing it, you can come in and talk to us. Like I said, we don't have to do a hard credit pull right now. Right. We can kind of get you in there, and like I said, we'll compete. Put us up against your lender.
So the other question that comes up a lot is paying off debt. There's people that are waiting to go even have the conversation with you or a lender because they want to pay off all their debt. And then sometimes we hear later that's not always the best idea.
Yeah. Honestly, it just kind of depends. And that's where we can take a look now, figure out what the goals are for that client and the individual. It might be a comfort level for them to get rid of the debt first, but if they're feeling like that it's going to help with their credit, a lot of times that's not really the case. And we have the tools to be able to go in and put together a plan to say, here's what you need to do in a short period of time that'll give you the biggest bang for your dollars that you're spending to be able to help them get there quicker. So it's just, everybody's so individualized.
And and just having that conversation, because I've actually had some people come in and say, yeah, I paid off all my debt and closed off all my credit cards after I paid them off. And that's not necessarily what you want to do.
Exactly.
Closing that off. That's about a third of your credit score is available credit. So it's just, it's a dumb game we have to play. The FICOs, they're a private company, and that's a whole other can of worms. But you definitely want to navigate that correctly. So that's another reason coming in, even if you're not ready right now. You're not racking up a bill with us. We're happy to sit down and talk to you, and really we like closing loans. That's just, we love getting people in houses.
Well, and you do want people to come in as early as possible and get the right information. And like Kristi was saying, it's not always the best thing to pay off all your debt. And if you are going to do that because it's necessary, it'd be nice to know what order to do it in, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're going to have to take another quick break. We're talking to Guy Giles of Mutual Mortgage, Kristi Stockebrand, and Trent Driskell, also of Mutual Mortgage. Thanks for coming on the show this holiday weekend, you guys.
Well, thank you.
Yep, we're going to take a quick break and say thank you to our lovely sponsors, Mutual Mortgage, John L. Scott, and the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors. We'll be right back after a quick word from these folks. Well, hey, everybody, welcome back to the Real Estate Show. We're talking to Guy Giles of Mutual Mortgage and his team, Kristi Stockebrand and Trent Driskell. And you guys are in Grants Pass today, is that right?
Yeah, we're down doing the parade for Boatnick, and anyway, it's kind of a fun thing to come down and see. I think some of these boats hit like 150 miles an hour on the river.
Oh, wow.
What that could do to your spleen, but can be good. But they are fun to watch for sure. So if you got 3 minutes and you're hearing this, run down quick and watch the parade.
Well, and Boatnick is so fun, and it's a local event every year. It's beautiful, it's big and friendly and fun and family friendly, pet friendly.
It is. It's one of the probably the biggest community thing they have going on.
It's one of the reasons why we live here, right?
Well, yeah, and just looking at the mountains all around us. I mean, I'm just amazed every time. I try not to share that too much with my motorcycle riding buddies, but I'm just blown away every time the leaves change here. The flowers come out in the spring. It's just a rare place, and I don't think there's a better place to be.
I agree. Best place in the world to live.
We've had a little weirdness going on with the homeless situation lately. I bet I'm not telling anybody anything that they don't know, but it is good to see that the Medford City Council is really working to to address some of this stuff.
Yeah, they're very proactive, isn't that?
Yeah. I mean, it is the whole thing isn't about being punitive, but we all work here and live here, and we want a nice, safe place. People to be able to go downtown and get their hair cut without having to step over anything. So really, at the end of the day, I think that our city council is doing a really good job. And if you just get on their website, they'll show some dates of some meetings where they're explaining what they're trying to do to just make it good for everybody.
Yeah, they are working so hard. So yeah, that's great. That go on those websites for the Medford at whatever municipality you live in and get involved and just have your voice be heard. Absolutely.
And then you mentioned on the break, you wanted to talk a little bit about USDA loans.
Well, because we live in this beautiful, farm country area. And I think a lot of people don't know that there's a no money down loan for civilians.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start off with a couple of the qualification things and then let Kristi and Trent just kind of finish. But it is a good program. There's a little bit of a misconception sometimes, because just by the name of it, you're thinking you're going to be out running cows or doing something. But it really is a program, believe it or not, that's more designed for small towns than it is for just being in the rural environment. Yes,
I see.
You can buy in the country with it, but it's one of those things you have to be careful of. If you have a outbuilding, say somebody put a barn on there that's a $40,000 barn, which would be really cheap right now, they can take the value right out of that, because you're only supposed to be financing the house on the USDA.
Oh,
so literally, I got burnt once with a barn, and thankfully the guy came back to me and did his next loan. But the house turned out to not appraise because there was plenty of value with everything. But by the time you fit in the money for those outbuildings, it was. They took it out and then it hadn't appraised for enough money. So
that's good to know.
Nuances to be careful of, but maybe
the value's on the house if you're doing a USDA.
Yeah, maybe you can talk about the areas they do and don't do.
Yeah, so city limits, within Medford, Central Point, Grants Pass, those don't qualify. But if you're on the outskirts, Eagle Point, Shady Cove, Rogue River, those are areas that do qualify.
Ashland, believe it or not.
Yeah. So it is a zero down program. It is a little more restrictive when we're looking at debt to income ratios, but it is a great option, especially for some of those first time home buyers who may not have, the down payment also.
Do they have any income restrictions on the person doing the purchasing?
There are income limits, and it's based on household size. So
really?
For a family of two, we're looking over $100,000. I mean, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but You know, the income limits are, you know, actually pretty good, but it is based on household size. But they do take into consideration if you have a child that's working and living in the house, they do count that income as well.
So that could be a double-edged sword.
It could, yes. Yes.
Some kids keep their jobs and some don't.
Right. So
that's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So for, you know, in different areas, and of course, USDA goes nationwide. It just, we can look up the counties. There are county income limits changed by county area. So we've got the tools to be able to look it up. If somebody's finding a home and wonder if it qualifies, we can look up the address to see if it is eligible and fits within the guidelines.
That is so exciting. So it just has to be on the outskirts of town. You have to be careful about how nice your outbuildings are. They can't be nicer. And that, you know, that's so funny. We're all laughing, but that's very Southern Oregon, isn't it? To have a much nicer outbuilding than your house. Yeah.
And when we say outskirts, it's just smaller towns. So it can be, you could do it right in the middle of Phoenix or Talent.
Yeah.
I mean, so it just can't be in the more highly dense areas. Actually, Grants Pass qualified for it till about what, 4 years ago or something.
Yeah, they took it out the same time.
They took it out of there. But I believe for one person, you're up a little over $90,000 right now. I'm kind of looking.
Wow.
1 to 4 is $103,000.
That's your income to qualify.
Yes.
So is that like the minimum, or what are we talking about? Maximum?
That's the max. But they do adjust that every year because we know wages change every year.
So this is for people who are not like Warren Buffett.
Right.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's one of those programs that for the right person that doesn't carry a lot of debt, that might have a decent income. You know, they're what she was saying about being more restrictive on their debt to income ratios. I think 43 or something is kind of the max that I've seen it. And by that, for every dollar that you have coming in, 43 cents is already going out, you know, including your house. So that'd be a really easy way to just kind of explain, you know, debt to income ratios and that. And maybe we can get into that stuff a little bit more on the next show, because I know I got a parade to jump into, and I think
well, it's always so fun to have you guys on. And it's nice that Kristi and Trent joined you. And you guys have been there, what, a couple months now?
Almost 60 days now. Yeah.
That's great. Well, we'll have to get an update from you both later in the summer.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. So Guy, how about you give us a phone number, website? How do people get a hold of you when you're not on the parade?
Usually they just wave at me in my Jeep, but my number is 541-944-6987. And if you just Google any of us at Mutual Omaha, you will find us. And Kristi, what's your phone number?
Let's see your number.
You bet. It's 541-973-7675.
And Trent?
541-613-6753.
Great. So you can get a hold of Guy, Kristi, or Trent as soon as they get off the float for Beatnik in Grants Pass. Thanks for taking the time to jump in with us today. You guys super appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. See you next time.
See you next time. Well, everybody, that's it for this weekend. Have a beautiful Southern Oregon Memorial Day. This broadcast will be repeated tomorrow, Sunday at 6 p.m. on KCMX FM 99.5. Thanks again to John L. Scott, Ashland, Medford. Thank you, Guy Giles of Mutual Mortgage. And thank you to the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors. Have a great weekend, everybody. Hug those you love.